Okay, we'll give folks a couple more minutes to join, and then we'll get started shortly.
Where are the NSX models? I only see a portion. Another one.
I see Richard has his hand up, but I don't know what I can do about that.
No, that was error. I was trying to get the thing off the screen so I could see everybody. You know, that little bar that keeps popping up. So I hit it. I hit the right hand.
There we go.
I'm good. That's good. Maybe I can put my hand down. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Is there no text chat in this session?
Hey, John Colmar.
Hello, May. How's everybody?
Good.
Hey, John.
Oh,
Or should I say good afternoon?
This is Tom in Arizona, just checking my mic here.
Hey, Tom.
Oh, you can hear me. Last time I couldn't get through. Thanks.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Look at that mask on Hugh.
Eddie, take it over. This is actually really me. When you see me in person, I'm wearing a mask.
Okay, so let's take a look.
All right. My head is starting to melt. I'll be right back.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and mute everyone except for myself and Rick, and then we'll get started?
Sure thing.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, welcome to day 2 of the 2020 Virtual NSXPO, brought to you by the NSX Club of America. I'm May Lee, also known as Miss Purple, and I'll be your host. Today, we're excited to have several well-known NSX-oriented businesses participating in our tech session. All 3 of these companies have been huge supporters of NSXCA over the years, and we truly appreciate of our annual NSXPO events. First up, we've got Rick Coe from EuroBoutique. EuroBoutique was started 25 years ago in the Chicago area by a group of individuals with a passion for cars working on BMW M3s. They're now located in Silicon Valley here in Northern California, and they've branched out to cover all high performance cars from daily drivers, such as my own, to exotics. EuroBoutique's motto is, if you dream it, we build it. Nothing is impossible, as they strive to offer custom quality products that stand out and will make your car a reflection of you to create the ultimate image. I had the pleasure of working closely with Rick when he served as the sponsorship chair for the 2018 NSXPO held here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And now Rick will take you on a behind the scenes tour of EuroBoutique.
Okay, I just unmuted him. Okay. Yep. Hey guys, this is Rick. I've met many of you guys in person, which is always great to see people. And I'm over here in Northern California, as May has said. This is our first virtual NSXPO, so everything is new to me. I made the video, which some of you guys have seen already, some may not have, but the video was kind of to give you an idea of some of the things that we do here, some of the new products that are coming out in the next year or so, and things that are just around the corner. Today, I was going to prepare some slides or something, but I thought since this is a tech session and it's for Q&A, I want to leave it relatively relaxed and open, so I don't have a set format. I did put a folder together with some photos of some projects we've done in the past on NSX if you guys want to see, but I figure Since I got some NSXs here behind me and I got some parts here behind me, if you guys have questions or if you want to see something or maybe how something is done, I'll try my best to answer those questions. And then you guys are welcome to ask me anything, and I'll try to do my best to answer those questions for you. Our focus has been always on the NSX stereo side. We do a lot of stereo work. So I do take these cars apart quite a bit. Me and my team does a lot of work on these things. And if there's something you want to see, whether it's the back of something or you want to see the wiring, or maybe you had a question about how one of our products fits, now's a great time to ask, and then I'll be happy to explain the best I can. So with that said, I'll leave it open. And did you guys want to see anything behind me or had questions for me today? And then I'll try to answer those questions for you. If not, I can also show some other products that I have behind me live. I guess I can do that as well if there's no specific questions right away. You want me to do that?
In order to ask a question, you're going to have to unmute yourself, or you can ask the question in the chat window.
Okay, and I'm going to go grab something. All right, so no questions so far. Everybody's good. I'm going to show you guys something. We've made a lot of, we've kind of started down this path of making carbon products with the NSX dash panel. Primarily, we were doing that out of a need more than a want. Initially, we were taking OEM dash panels and we were cutting them, modifying them, sanding them down, doing them one at a time for local NSX owners. And that was the only way that we were doing it up to that point. And then shortly after, we had NSX owners, from across the country, maybe 5 hours away, could be worldwide. We had an NSX owner call us in Jamaica for an NSX dash panel. And so we decided to make the panel from scratch, as you guys know. So that was our first project going down this whole path of making carbon fiber products. What I have in my hand here is something a little bit different. A lot of guys come to us and said, hey, it'll be great if I can get a carbon fiber glove box. This is the glove box for the NSX. This is actually a prototype. We just finished it maybe a week ago. My guys were testing it. But up to this point, we made glove boxes in the past, but we've always needed your stock glove box because we just take your stock one, we strip it down to its bare frame, and then we apply the carbon resin, and then we make the carbon fiber glove boxes. But that meant that you would have to send us your glove box. We would do the work, and then we would send it back to you, and then you would swap in your original lock back on the car so you can still use your key. And then you just simply install it back on your car with the factory hinges. But this is the first one that's made from scratch, meaning this is made from a mold. So no longer do we need your glove boxes. So for those guys you guys that are further away, or you may want to keep your stock glove box. So these things are pretty expensive. I mean, if you were to buy a stock glove box from Acura, I think these things run about $600-700. That's the going rate for one. So not having to send in your stock one and getting a carbon one is a big plus because you can keep your stock parts, which we all know is very valuable these days with the first gen NSXs. But at the same time, you can still get a carbon glove box now. So now you can place the order and we can send you one, and you simply swap in your plastics, your keyhole, and then all the hardware from your glove box to this new one and just pop it back on your car. Then wrap up your glove box nice and safe and bubble wrap and put it away. So this is kind of our new product. We haven't launched it yet. This was the first one we just made because we were doing some mold testing. But this is one of the products that kind of came about, out of a need after we started the knee bolsters, right? So did you guys, is there any questions, Warren? Anybody have questions that you want to ask? Or
No questions in chat, but how does that work with being able to lock the glove box then?
So the locking mechanism is actually your factory mechanism. So this piece comes out from the back. There's 2 screw holes, and then basically you would swap your mechanism onto this new one. Yeah. Okay. So you keep your original shell, and you swap over the key cover with the locking mechanism, as well as the plastic and the hinges. So you swap, it's kind of like a steering wheel. You swap all your parts over to the new one, but you can keep your original glove box intact. You don't have to send it to us as a core exchange, which is a big piece of this puzzle. Yep. And then I'll grab something else in the back. Let me go grab something else.
I love the show and tell.
Yeah, you know, I had all these pieces back here, and I got the car. I had the cars kind of sit parked back here because I figured somebody wanted to see something inside the NSX. We have the black one, which is a local customer's car, and it's all taken apart right now. It's being put back together, so you can kind of, if we need to see something, this one's already taken apart, and then the white one, of course, is fully assembled now with the whole stereo setup. You know, so we can use it as demos, I guess, if we needed to. This is a kind of a cool piece. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but this is, of course, the handle. Recently, we had a customer that came to us, and he had a broken piece, which is common, right? He broke the top part of this thing. But the easy solution is to buy the pieces, you know, from, I think SOS sells these parts, so we bought it from SOS and replaced it for him. Then we refinished the handle, so it's all nice and freshly painted, and then we finished the 2 sections here in carbon. But the tricky part was his other handle, his driver's side handle, he was missing this complete handle. So we don't make this handle, of course, so we had to purchase this part. They're sold in pairs from SOS again, so we purchased the pairs, and then we had it finished in carbon. So this is a metal handle that's finished in carbon, and it has all the working parts on the back. So these things can be repaired, but what we found out the hard way was there's little screws here that attach the clips on. Make sure you don't lose those. Those are not sold separately that I'm aware of. So we had to buy another extra handle just to fix the one that he had. But he ended up with an extra case after the fact. But we do a lot of refinishing of handles because the leather gets worn, you know, you get nicks and scratches on them. So this is one of the things we do with the handles. So we just take the OEM part and we do all the carbon pieces over the factory parts. All right.
Rick, I just changed my handles on Monday.
You did, so you know, have an intricate idea of what those things go.
Yeah, and just information, if you buy the handles from Science of Speed, they'll send you the screws.
They send you the screws.
Yeah.
For the upper part?
So I changed out the small inner piece plus the handle.
Okay, so the inner piece and the handle. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Because the guy that was missing on this thing, he was missing the inner insert, the threaded insert that the screw goes into. That's, yeah, SOS doesn't have. So we had to buy an extra handle just to get that threaded insert. That was the only way to fix it. And it's unusual, you know, normally you break it, you would have the parts. For some reason, this customer, he sent us the 2 handles. One of them was missing the whole handle, thus no threaded insert. And that threaded insert is what you need. And I took photos of all of these things, you know, so if anyone wants to see it, you know, you can always ask me and I'll email it to you. But it's kind of one of those things that you do it and you see it. But if you've never done it before, you're like, what is he talking about, you know? But those threaded pieces are what we were missing. And those are not sold by anybody except when you buy the handle. It's those threaded, it's the ones that the screws go into. All right. This thing you guys probably have seen. We had a group buy on NSX Prime. This was one of those pieces where, you know, we get a lot of NSXs here locally. And almost every one of them, the knee bolster is either loose or the tabs at the bottom are broken. Or you know, these tabs on the side are broken, or sometimes they snap because of the plastic. So, you know, you can buy a replacement, of course. You can buy a new one. I think they run about $300-400. But, you know, you have the same problems with the weak plastic, and eventually it's going to snap on you, right? So a guy, another NSX owner came to us and said, hey, could you make this in carbon? So we looked at it, and it didn't look like a difficult piece. So we started working on it, and this is the finished product. So this knee bolster, we had another NSX owner help us measure it, is about 5 ounces lighter than the factory part. So if we're trying to save weight, you can make your NSX 5 ounces lighter with this piece. But besides the weight savings, it's a very light part, extremely strong. I sat on this thing a couple of times, it didn't break, so it's pretty robust. And it has the original tabs here. So you take your original plastic keyhole trim piece, it snaps in here, and that fills in the rest of the gap here. And this piece just goes right back on as a factory part with the 2 screws at the bottom. So it's a nice piece that, you know, it's just drops right in, and you don't have to worry about it ever breaking again on you. And the way we designed it is we designed the upper parts on the top without using the factory clips, because we know the factory clips, they tend to be be really tight and hard to remove. So we just use a little friction tape, and these teams just slide into the top. You put the 2 screws in at the bottom, and you're done. And if you ever need to remove it, you take the 2 bottom screws out, just slide it right out. You don't have to worry about the clips again. So it's a drop-in replacement for your factory knee bolster. So we just finished the group buy, I think, on this particular piece on Prime.
Rick, someone wants to know how much of the interior is apart on the black car.
Well, we can take a look at it. Most of the interior is out. The dash panel's out. The door panels, I think, are on the car, but the passenger seat is out. The subwoofer box section is out. We're building some parts on it right now. So yeah, most of the center console is exposed if there's something they want to see or they had a question about something.
Rick, did you say the entire dash is out?
Yeah, the dash panel is not on the car right now. Here, I can walk over to it. I mean, I'm mobile, so I can walk to it. Let's take a look. You guys are tired of seeing my face, I'm sure. So let's go over here using a laptop. So let's go in here and take a look. So I mean, this car right now, you can see it's got a Sparco steering wheel in there, and then the dash panel and stuff is all shifters out. We just finished putting the radio in. This is the Alpine ILX 650. This radio's in, but pretty much the dash is all pretty much exposed. You can see it's all open right now. And then we got the glove box is missing. He's getting the carbon glove box. Subwoofer box is down here, but pretty much there's no seat, so everything else is all exposed on the car. What are you guys looking to see on the car?
I have this piece right here, which I believe comes from the driver's side.
That is the driver's side. Yeah, the underside.
What
right?
what is this for?
What is that?
There's like a, it has a clip and a plug.
That's the chime and the light.
Yeah, I think that is. I haven't seen that side of it in a while. Yeah.
That's your door chime.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
Huh. But you said there's a light in here too?
Should be.
Should be, yeah. Let me see if I find mine. I can see. Let's see if I see mine. All right. Let me see if I have mine off. Let's set this down for a second here. Screwdriver. Why are you taking that part out, Jason?
This is from a different car, not my car. Or well, not my original. Okay. Rick, someone asked if the carbon pieces are made in-house.
They are all designed in-house, and then we have a contract manufacturer that builds it for us.
Yeah, I got another question in chat. I don't want to interrupt you, but do you want me to hit you with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So he's looking for a billet or carbon fiber mode button surround for the NC1. I said it'd be nice to add some weight, cover the plastic knob to make it look a little sharper. It could, slide over the trim ring. They got a couple people that asked about something like that.
Yeah, we actually have an NC1 that we took apart, and then we're investigating that part right now because we're building the silver trim piece for the center console on the NC1s as part of our stage 2 program. So stage 1 right now, I was hoping I had a mold to show you, but I don't have it finished yet. But we're building the door trims on the NC1 right now, so that's stage 1. We're going to finish those probably in the next 2 weeks. We're going to do some testing in-house. Once those are done, the next step is to go in and work on the center console trim, and then that button we're going to look at as well, the mode button. So that's something that we can definitely investigate while we have the car taken apart. That's a good question. Jason, did I answer your question? I know we talked about it, but I pulled it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I got the idea. I've never been like taking this part off on my car. So, and then when I got the other car, it was missing one of the holdings.
Yeah, that one side is the light. I pulled mine off, and the other side has the plug for that harness. So there should be, if you look up in the cluster, there should be a wire plug for that
yeah.
charge light.
I think it's shoved up there, and like they just sort of didn't care about it.
Yeah, a lot of times they tuck it up there if you're doing work and they forget to plug it back in. It's common, but it's not a critical part of the vehicle. So if you don't plug it, you just don't have the chime pretty much.
Well, I can't quite mount it back yet until I like re-glue or fix this.
Fixing those pointy tabs, right? Yeah, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Rick, I have another question.
Okay.
When you're installing a double DIN unit, how do you get it to line up with your console piece?
Okay, that's a great question. I'll go back to the car and I'll show you a little bit of what we do, the trick behind it. Let's see here. So, all right. Looking at the center console, there's two parts to it. One thing we always look for is when we're aligning the radio, we want to align the radio with the dash. So if you look at the contour of the dash, we start with a reference point right in the middle, so it's flush. We use a SOS radio cage for all of our installations because the SOS cage works great. There's other ways to build brackets if you don't want to use it, but you know, it's an easy way to mount the radio, very solid in the vehicle. Once it's mounted, the SOS cage has a bunch of holes on the side, so you can control the tilt and the pivot of the radio. So a part of it is trial and error. You know, you put the radio in with 2 screws, tighten it up, and then I'll put the dash panel in and then look at it. And then depending on the gaps and the fitment, you may have to pitch the radio down or up a little bit. And with our dash panel, we actually give you that ability because I'm going to come back outside. I'll show you guys here. Put this down. Actually, come over here. Sorry to keep moving this thing around. All right, so with our dash panels, we designed the panels, even though it does look like it's totally flat, we actually designed it with a little bit of glare reduction by tilting it up here. You see these little beveled edges on the thing? So that allows your radio, so when your radio is in here, just imagine the radio, instead of being up this way, you can pitch it forward a little bit. And that's where I was talking about with the adjustments on the side of the radio cage. By adjusting those pivot points of the radio, you can pitch the radio, instead of being at this position straight up at the sky, you can tilt it forward maybe 10 degrees. That gives you a little bit of glare reduction because this lip is actually built out on the top. And that's why with this dash panel, it gives you a little bit of glare reduction without going to a full, 30 or 40 degree tilt, which we do on our other dash panel. So this panel is the one that's made from the mold. It's 100% carbon. It's got all your factory screw points, which is a big deal. If you don't have these, you'll be gluing everything in. So we use the factory screw points, factory screws, because before, you had to pick your own screws, but now you use factory screws. Everything's all carbon, but this panel gives you that little bit of tilt with the radio cage, and that's how we position the radio in. If you're using our reduced glare panels, then it's a little bit different because now the radio's tilted quite a bit more. And then I'm going to come here and I'll show you guys. This is inside the one with so this one has the reverse tilt. You can see the radio sunk in quite a bit further. And with this kind of panel, you have to move the radio down further. So with this kind of design, you kind of have to shave the inside of the dash a little bit to tilt the radio quite a bit more. The advantage of this kind of panel is obviously the glare reduction, but the disadvantage is, when you're looking at the buttons, I have to hit it with my pinky. You see how it's kind of tucked in here? Because they're all tucked in the bottom here, you have to use the finger to hit it. But I think the gain is better because you get less glare, but it does require more work. And we used to sell these panels on our site directly, but now we prefer to talk to every customer because there was a misunderstanding. I think that a lot of people thought these panels would just drop-in fitment, and it really isn't because the reduced glare ones, they require moving the radio to a different position because essentially you're moving the radio into where the ashtray used to be. So it's a little bit more custom, requires a little bit more work. But the full carbon one that we sell is pretty much a drop-in panel. The radio is very easy to align with the SOS cage, and then you just line it up with the dash angle to start with, and then play with it slowly until you fit it. It fits just right, and that's how we get the radios to fit.
So we got a question about what drives your production. Do you design things organically and then poll people for demand, or do you wait to hear demand and then respond accordingly?
I think we try to do both if we can. I mean, the NSX community is small. There's a lot of great vendors out there that make a lot of great parts. So I try to, fill the need with things that other people are not doing. So like with the NC1, a lot of the production is driven by owners and owners making requests and, demands for certain things. And that's how we start. You know, we don't have a specific way when we build products. It could be from demand. It could be from word of mouth, a lot of people asking about it, or it could be internally, we're trying to resolve a problem. We're trying to figure out a solution to something that, you know, people don't like. So any of those reasons could be what drives our product and our production cycle.
So I think we're, if we have more questions for Rick, maybe we can save them towards the end of this tech session, so that we can go ahead and bring up Dave Levy next.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rick, for that.
You guys, that was fun. Thank you.
You can stay on, right?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, great. Okay, so next up we have Dave Levy from Cedar Ridge Fabrication, located in Portland, Oregon. Dave started Cedar Ridge Fabrication in 2003 after he bought his first NSX, which was a 1993 model with a CT supercharger. It was nearly perfect, which to Dave meant a chance to optimize to a specific driver's desires. The first part that he optimized was the Cedar Ridge Fabrication short shifter in order to shorten the fore and aft movement of the shift lever, which felt a bit long. This part has been in production now for over 15 years with over 1,000 sold. Dave strives to offer OEM fasteners and strength requirements as a starting point before increasing strength, but always giving customers the option to return any modifications back to OEM specs. Cedar Ridge Fabrication has gone on to offering many performance-oriented components developed for track and racing applications. Dave will now take us inside Cedar Ridge Fabrication for a tour. Dave?
Hey there. Thanks for the introduction, Ray. It's really nice to be here. It's sort of fun. I've met a lot of you people, but it rarely gives me the opportunity to kind of do a backstory on what it is that we do. So one of the things I thought I'd do today is kind of do a little dog and pony show. And so I'm going to get up and I've got I've got all the products that I build sort of laid out. All of this stuff feels intuitive to me as to why it is I built them. I realize that I'm a real nerd, and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you. So with that, I'm gonna pick up. Hopefully my phone will continue to cooperate, and let's walk over into the shop area. I'm going to try and switch this around. Oh, look at that! That's so exciting. So you guys are lucky you don't have to look at me, but you can actually look at the stuff that I've got on the table here. So one of the things I'm known for is suspension work. And this originally got started, once again, almost everything I design starts off as trying to fix a problem. So my first car was a performance car and had most of the contact parts on it, but I live up here in the Northwest. And I drive my car all year round. I have a garage queen. I want to use it. So one of the first things after that short shifter was the beam bearings in the back of the car. I really liked the way they worked on the track, but because it's really wet up here, these things squeak like crazy in the Northwest. When they get wet, everyone else uses a plastic bushing material. Works great as long as it was dry. They were designed in California. Makes perfect sense. So that drove me crazy. So that led me on an odyssey to try and figure out a way to be able to improve that. What I ended up came across, and so this actually has that bearing installed. And as an example of bearing, here's one of them. So what that is it is a spherical hardened stainless steel ball in the middle, and then it has a Teflon liner on the outside. So theoretically, permanently lubricated, very strong, high load carrying capacity. But what I like about it is because it's lubricated with the Teflon, they never squeak. So that was one of the first things I came up with, and then I came up with a slightly different way of being able to install them using a snap ring that doesn't have ears on it. It's actually a spiral snap ring, So they're easier to install, and they also create constant load all the way around the part. So easier for the consumer to use. This led me down another rabbit hole, which was as I tracked the car more and more, I put stickier and stickier tires on, and I realized I didn't have enough camber adjustment. So that created, once again, the mother of invention. I created these guys, which go into the center of that bearing, and it's got an offset hole. So this allowed me to be able to, originally I thought I needed to increase camber everywhere, but then I realized pretty quickly that that was wrong. On the back, I needed to decrease camber. So this gives me 6 millimeters of additional adjustment, and I still use the stock Honda camber bolts. And so this allows me to drop about a degree of negative camber out of the back of the car, which works perfect for a lowered car on the track with sticky tires. But we also have found, I designed this part over 10 years ago. But people have really started lowering their cars. And with that, you end up with a lot of camber gain in the back of the car. So this has become a real nice solution for people that are street driving their car to make it so that you end up with better traction on the back, helps reduce some of the snap oversteer on the back end of the car, and can also increase tire life. One of the things I think is interesting is this is actually the rubber bushing that gets pressed out. So I don't think we very often get to actually look at what is in the stock car. If you look right here on the edge, there's actually a piece of aluminum in the center, a piece of aluminum on the outside, and then it's vulcanized rubber connecting the two of them. That's what your car suspension pivots on. Super awesome as far as isolating noise and vibration, but it allows the whole suspension to be able to move a couple of millimeters side to side under loading. So one of the things that's nice about any of the rigid suspension parts as far as bearings is that you are able to reduce that side-to-side motion, greatly increasing the trackability and the sensation of feeling where the car is. So that's part of the reason they originally started upgrading this part. To be able to use that, you need to use a rigid toe link with that as well. So we offer 3 different versions of that. Comtech does, Driving Ambition does, ScienceofSpeed does. Everyone's parts work and solve the same, and all of them work equally well. This is what we call our race duty, which is probably the strongest part of the market right now. Maybe it's even too strong, but it's high-strength chromoly, uses a New Hampshire bearing rod end on that, and these guys slide right into this space right here. If I had 2 hands, I'd actually put it in, but I'm not coordinated enough. One of the things I want to show people, because I get this question a lot, is if you look at where this is the orientation it would be on the car. This is where this bearing is. People ask, hey, can I upgrade one or the other on my car? And the answer is emphatically no. If you look at where this is the direction going this way that your wheel is sitting, you look at the location where this toe link sits and where this bushing sits, they are basically loaded as a pair. So if you replace only one and not the other, then the part that's still rubber will actually deflect significantly more. And effectively, the toe link is the same as the steering link on the front of your car. And if these end up being different lengths, it makes your rear tires steer. So absolutely terrifying if you go through and only put one of these in. As you load the back end of the car, the tire actually starts pointing different directions depending on how much lateral acceleration you have. So that's in short why it is you want to always do these as a set. One of the things that I've found over the last 3 or 4 years is we actually have come up with these guys, these rubber boots. So make these keeps water out, makes the actual rod end last significantly longer. It's a retrofit part, can go on any of these toe links except DA's, but the ScienceofSpeed one, I think Chris has actually used a different seal on his, but those have been super nice. And I'm just gonna keep rolling here. Another option that we've come up with, once again, with the idea of doing more and more road cars. You can see there's a rubber seal on these guys. This is another option that we've come up with for guys that aren't tracking the car, but you really want to make it so you've got maximum life. So that will press into the hole the same way that that step down, the step down picture did. If you're ordering these things, once again, just part of the Dog and Pony show here, this is how they'll come to you. So that's a pair for the rear. We make these for all locations in the car. So you can, any place there's a rubber bushing in the car, there's one available to be able to get rid of that rubber and make it so you increase the performance and make it so that you've got better road feel. This is the front. This is another part that's been really popular. So this is the front inner bushing that's in line with the steering rack. So this is a simple setup that I'm actually kind of proud of how this one came together. But you can see it's actually two separate cups that press in from either sides. This is the part off of the car. And then as they go in and meet in the center, they actually lock themselves in place with a little bit of interference, which I think is just kind of slick. I'm sort of, and once again, I went nerdy on that one. These use the same step down spacers that we have on the rears, literally the exact same part. Honda did a good job for us and made it so that the adjusters for the cams are actually the same part front and rear. So that made my job a little bit easier. Once again, this is what the rubber bushing is that came out of the front. And if you compare the front one to the back one, it's kind of interesting. There's actually more rubber on the front bushing than there is on the back bushing. So going through and getting rid of this piece of rubber is really noticeable as far as the increase in steering turn-in feel. So this not only will allow you to be able to change the amount of camber you've got, but it's really noticeable that the steering feels crisper without any other downside to it. Other bearings, just to be able to kind of go through the full set. This is the upper A-arm for the back of the car, and this is the bearing set as assembled. And you can kind of see how these are here are our bushings once again, the rubber ones that got pressed out. But this is what the set looks like and is actually inside. And you can kind of see how the whole thing is designed. That we've got for this particular part, there are nuts that hold the bearing in place, but you can see that there is a spacer that has an O-ring on it, and then the bearing, another O-ring, and then the spacer. When these are put in place in the cups, the O-ring actually engages to seal. So it's a pretty good unit. I've had these. We've had these. Geez, the whole set was about 10 years ago. I have yet to have someone wear one of these bearings out. So Factor X used these on their original Cricket car. I believe every car that Shad at Driving Ambition has put on the racetrack is running my suspension parts too. So we got an SCCA championship on this stuff. Just sent a set to a guy in Europe that won Time Attack using these pieces. So pretty happy with that. It's really fun. I'm going to continue on with the Dog and Pony show here. Here's sort of an oddball part that I worked on a couple of years ago. We still have it in the catalog, but this is an upper A-arm that this actually replaces the Acura part. And what this does is it gives us even more adjustment. So because we've got rod ends on each end, it allows us to have, this will give us about 6 degrees of camber adjustment. So pretty ridiculous. There haven't been a whole lot of applications. It was more of those, one of those things I just like, oh, I wondered if I could do it. The one benefit of this style is that we get rid of the ball joint at the top of the knuckle. So we all know that that's a wear item and you can't buy them anymore. So this was one of the solutions I came up with that gives us an inexpensive way to be able to replace that ball joint. And especially for track cars where things get abused a lot. And it's also higher strength because it's made out of chromoly instead of the forged aluminum. Other parts that are sort of, we're trying to answer questions are my adjustable toe links. And these were specific to be able to allow people to corner weight their car. So when you go through and you put your car on scales, you need to be able to independently adjust the length of each one of these sway links to make it so that the sway bars don't have an effect on the amount of traction that you've got in the car. So very simple on the back is just a basic turnbuckle to be able to shorten or lengthen that. The fronts, because of limited space, you actually have to unbolt these to be able to adjust the length of that because there isn't enough distance. The other piece that's great, and then these are also available now with the rubber boots, for street applications, keeps them quiet, makes them last a little bit longer. The other thing with these that I also found is really helpful is that throughout the different generations of NSX, sway bars were slightly different in how they were manufactured. And as you raise and lower the car, sometimes there's interference with the battery tray. So on the front end, sometimes being able to make that sway link longer will actually rotate the edge of the sway bar out of the way of contact. So it's also been a good solution as far as fixing that as people have made their cars lower. Next part I'm going to roll on to is my front compliance clamp. I just happen to have one of the original compliance clamps. I think these are actually made by Rob Morrison back when he was racing. So this would have been, 15, 17 years ago. And for guys who don't know what the compliance joint is, it's at the front end of the suspension on our cars. It's a really, really ingenious part that allows the suspension, the entire wheel, to move backwards before it starts to compress the suspension vertically. This is really, really fabulous because you can hit a pothole and your steering wheel doesn't get jerked. The problem with that is that under hard braking, the wheel can actually move rearward before it starts to actually slow down the car. It makes it so that the front end, especially if you're on the track, can create a judder in the front end because the wheel is literally oscillating back and forth before it's starting to compress the suspension. It's really easy to just lock that thing down, and it doesn't have much of a negative effect on the way the whole car handles or rides. What they originally did is they made it so that the compliance joint sits inside this hole, and it clamps the whole piece down. The backing plate on it uses the holes that the compliance joint actually mounts onto your car with. Really simple, really good, works fabulous. The downside on this, and part of what I like about having this, is that it removes tire clearance. So you can actually see the rubber that's on the end of this one. I, being the geek that I am and started tracking my car a lot, immediately put the biggest tires I could put on my car. And I immediately started cutting the sidewalls in them from hitting these clamps. I looked at that and thought, there's holes that are going through those compliance joints. I could just go through and make a part that bolts through the joint instead of having to go all the way around. Bingo. Now I've got the same clearance that the car was designed for. So this is another part that's been in production for, probably 15 years as well. A bunch of different versions of it. And this is the final version that we just finished. It's got a little bit of extra clearance on it to be able to make it so that we can deal with some of the anomalies in manufacturing. So these seem to fit a little bit better. The other piece that's nice about it is it's universal because the hole drilling has to be different on the left and the right. And you can see the double holes in it here for the through clamp bolts. The other piece that I'm super excited about, this has taken me years to figure out, but we now have got a complete titanium bolt set. So titanium bolts these are 6-4 ties, so it's nominally the same strength as the factory parts, but they're 40% lighter and they never corrode. So super, super awesome upgrade. And as it worked out, it only added $25 to the cost of the clamp set. So I'm actually really pleased with that. But that's a new part I'm just announcing right now. We've sort of done a soft rollout on that as those became available. But that's kind of fun. I'm going to continue down the fixing problems that I saw. So I think most of you guys are familiar with these, the timing belt shields. One of the Achilles heels of our cars is that the damper on our crank is a very old style design that actually has a metal ring on the back of it that's vulcanized inside of the lower pulley on the crank. Over time, that rubber will just give out. And the original design of the C motor has only got a piece of plastic protecting the timing belt from anything that could damage it. And so what would happen is that the metal plate would delaminate, it would rattle around inside the pulley, and then eventually it would cut its way through the plastic cover in a matter of seconds, and then it would eat your timing belt. And then because we have an interference motor, your valves would hit your pistons, and you were looking at what used to be a $12,000 bill, but now parts aren't made for C motors anymore. So you end up in a world of hurt. So these are relatively inexpensive, and like I like to say is that they're the cheapest insurance you can put on your car. The other solution now is ATI makes a sealed hydraulic damper that that never can come apart. So that's a really good solution if you want to spend the money for it. But this is also just a super easy way to be able to go through and keep any car on the road. It's a DIY part. And if you're ever doing your timing belt, because it comes with bolts that go through and replace 2 of the stock bolts, any tech will throw that on your car for no additional cost. And like I said, they're cheap. They're $70 for the solid one. That's a little bit heavier. And then this is our lightweight one that's got these cute little cutouts on it. And those are $100. We've got these, SOS has got this part as well. Other things that I've designed, once again, to solve problems. This is our hardened motor mount set. And these are really, really simple. So since I was tracking the crap out of my car, I ended up breaking motor mounts on a fairly regular basis as I put more and more power in and I drove the car harder and harder. And I got tired of replacing them. And then I realized that if I just filled these things full of urethane or some sort of a rubber, I could just make it so that it doesn't move as much. Originally, we just started filling these, but if you didn't catch it quick enough, the center section would tear out and it no longer would align with the rest of the motor mount. So I came up with these little aluminum cups that go through and align the outside with the inside, and then you can just pour through the 4 holes to be able to make a solid mount. So it allows you to go through and use what was a piece of trash, and now you've got your own solid motor mount, and everything aligns correctly. This is also kind of unique that once you're done casting this, if you want something that's a little bit softer, you can actually pick these covers back out and have a full rubber mount, somewhat similar to what the stock one was, but it has the gaps inside taken away. So then it just ends up being an alignment piece. So that's kind of a fun thing as far as being able to solve a problem. I'm just going to keep walking down my little piles of stuff. I think most people are familiar with these guys, which are my adjustable exhaust hangers. So this was another trying to solve a problem that I was driving behind. I was in a caravan heading to 2016 in Orlando, and I was driving behind all these different cars, and we were taking turns and moving around. And it's like I looked at every single car, and their exhaust was hanging crooked. And it's just like, oh my God, I just can't believe that. All of these cars. And I just thought, oh, that's just an anomaly that, occasionally they're crooked. But it's like every single car I looked at. So what I did is came up with a simple little part that we can actually adjust the length of it. So normally what you do is you end up bending the hooks that the exhaust hangs on. And you can do it, but it's kind of a pain and it's sort of hit and miss. And sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't. It just seemed to me, it's like, oh, we can just make this thing that's got 35 millimeters of adjustment, and you're able to get it so that your exhaust hangs perfectly every time. We always recommend that you use 4 of these because there's 4 corners that the exhaust hangs on. And this is always going to be a problem with the NSX because of the way the exhaust is run. It has a sort of a convoluted run, and the exhaust actually has the weight of the catalytic converters on it. So over time, everything fatigues because of the heat. So that's been sort of fun to actually go through and see people post pictures of like before and after and actually see the solution to that. Here's the short shifter kit that we talked about earlier. Those are still around. Other bits that I make, this is actually a locking timing belt tensioner. So as I built my motors with more and more power, over time, it was really hard once I got high lift cams, bigger valves on to be able to maintain the adjustment of the timing belt. And so this is just a way to be able to lock that down solid instead of having the spring tension it. So that's been pretty cool. This is, once again, another trying to figure out a solution to a problem. My Comptech supercharger worked pretty darn well when I had 6 pounds of boost on it. By the time I built the thing with 14 pounds, I couldn't keep the belt on because the stock Comtech setup used a spring to tension the serpentine belt. So this is just a really simple block that allows me to be able to take that spring tensioner out and rigidly lock it in place. Comes with 3 different holes in it. Once again, that was me and my going down the rabbit hole where I kept using different size pulleys on all of my setup so I could go through and use the idler in different positions without having to take the whole thing apart or change belts. Other stuff that, once again, trying to solve problems. This is my AccuSump setup. So this actually allows you to run your AccuSump, which is pressurized oil, and it runs it right in through the stock oil filter banjo bolt. And this is the setup that I make that uses a socketless rubber hose. So it's really easy to assemble. We normally will mount the AccuSump in the right side fender well. So it's completely unobtrusive once it's done. Had really good luck with these. This also maintains the location of the stock oil cooler, which I think is a really efficient part. Does a very good job for 99% of the cars that are out there being driven hard. As we go on the odyssey of other stuff that we do, this is our baffle shield for the C motor. You can see this one is a finished pan ready to go out. And what this does is inside your motor, the oil sits in the very bottom of the pan down here, and it's got a sump that reaches in to the bottom of the pan. You can see if you look in here, there's an area where it's flat. That's actually where the oil sump sits, just a couple of millimeters above that. As your car is moving around the track with lateral acceleration, the oil sloshes one way or the other way, depending on which direction you're turning. The baffle goes through and helps control that sloshing, so it will greatly prevent oil starvation by just keeping the oil down in that area. You'll also notice in this that I've gone through and strategically created small drain back slots all the way around the edge to be able to allow the oil to go back in, but still get restricted the motion, or the wave of the oil gets restricted to keep it down in the bottom of the pan. This is easy for us to do, and we go through and do these either on an exchange basis. Here's another one that's getting ready to go out to powder coat. We can also set these up with any kind of bungs that you want. This gentleman is getting an oil temp sensor, which I like to put down in the lowest part of the pan so that you get the true temperature of the oil that's coming back from the motor, instead of getting a temp once it's gone through some other portion, whether it's an issue of going through the pump or some other place where it's going to take some energy out of it. So that's kind of a fun little part. Really solves a problem. And the other thing that's nice about this particular piece is there's no downside to it. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't restrict the way Honda designed everything to work. And because of the specific size of the drain back holes, we don't get any real restriction in the flow of the oil returning back into the pan. Along the same thought, a lot of guys right now are getting tired of rebuilding their C motors and realizing that there's not going to be more parts available. So we've been starting to go through, and I myself am doing this as well, as I'm building a J motor for my race car. So this is the oil pan for the J motor. And so similar situation, but if you look down inside, this already has got a shelf that goes around where the oil pickup is. So it's better just off the shelf than the way the C was designed. It's also, was designed 15 years later. And so we came up with, and this is an aluminum pan instead of steel. So because of that, it's just kind of a unique and different part. We created an aluminum baffle that will drop down into the bottom of this. Because of the way the Honda designed the pan, it's kind of cool. It's got these convolutions on it that allows us to be able to create 4 points of contact to be able to push this thing down into place. If you want to weld it in, you can do that. The whole pan tapers, and this will actually push down in place and stay all by itself. Don't know if I'd recommend that, but it's kind of interesting you can do that. The other thing that people have done is that there are 2 holes here that actually line up with a couple of, I can't see it because it's already welded in, but there's a couple of bosses that were cast in that Honda must have designed this to be able to put a windage tray or something else in the bottom of that. But you can actually just tap those two holes with 6x1s and bolt the thing in place if you don't have the ability to weld it. And once again, it's designed similar to the way that the steel pan for the steel bath for the C is, with the one difference, which is this spot right here, which is where your dipstick has to roll through. So we couldn't seal that up quite as tightly, but this is where your oil pickup comes up here. There's a stabilizer for that oil pickup that rolls right here. But once again, simple little parts. And as more guys are building the J motors, I think this is going to be super helpful if you don't want to go full blown as far as an AccuSum, but you just want to give yourself a little bit of protection on that.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, May.
I think, do we have any questions, Dan, in the for Dave before we move on?
I do have two questions from chat.
Okay.
The first one, and we might have missed this, your website is currently down, so someone is asking if you make tie rod ends.
Tie rod ends for the front for steering linkage.
I would assume.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't. If you're looking for steering tie rods, I would recommend Jeff at Carbon 6 right now. I know he's got those on his website. And yes, my website is down, and unfortunately, I'm the one that's rebuilding it. So I'm making car parts instead of working on my website. I'll admit that. I'm bad. The bad thing is it's probably 80% done. And so I should just light the thing up, but I'd really like to have it finished before I put it up. But I'll have to make peace with that. And hopefully I'll actually get that thing done up, or get it up by the first of the year.
And the other question also from the same person, it's, have you ever heard of your adjustable sway bar links snapping? And how are the sway bar links lubricated with the boot?
I have not heard of one of them breaking. It's certainly possible. The sway links, if you go beyond the capacity of their ability to articulate, just like the stock ones, which break on a fairly regular basis when people do that, these will break as well. We do offer different lengths. I'm going to switch the camera back around. I think I am. There we go. We do offer, the rears are a really, really big rod end. So I doubt that these are ever going to fail. Plus, because of the way they fit, there's tons of articulation and it's long. So any sort of misalignment has got a tremendous amount of angular ability to align. The fronts, because they're relatively short, if these are misaligned by a small amount, it's possible if you have a tremendous amount of travel to go beyond the capacity of the piece to be able to articulate. We do make 3 different lengths of spacers to help deal with that. The only ones that I've heard of people having issues with on these are when you are running a really large, actually one of the dolly 1-inch sway bars, and you're trying to set it up on the stiffest setting. Then this articulation gets to be too great. And we make longer spacers to be able to move the whole sway link closer to where the sway bar pivots to be able to deal with that. So if people have had issues with that, feel free to contact me. And I'm trying to think if we've ever had those up on, those were up on the old website, but I actually lost my URL. So that's why the website went down. So
okay.
all of the information that was there.
The last comment is someone offered to help you with your website. So if you're looking for assistance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have them message me. I would love to do that. I'm pretty good at making car parts. Really bad at doing websites.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Dave, for that deep dive. I'd like to go ahead and switch over to our next guest, and hopefully all 3 of you can stay after. We can definitely run the session over for additional questions.
Okay.
So
can I have 1 or 2 more minutes?
Sure.
Or did I get cut off already? So 2 things. I've been working on a whole bunch of new parts, and that's part of the reason I've been sort of people haven't seen very much of me on any of the forums. One of the things I'm working on that I'm really close to being finished is an increased camber correction that will go in the upper A-arms of for the car. So that's been a really long haul. I've been working on that one for years, but that's pretty close. The other piece that has been my quest is coming up with a new limited slip differential that will work on the stock gear ratios that Honda made. And I'm just signing a contract with Wave Track to get those made. So that's really exciting for me. It's a Torsen style gear differential, so really smooth application. And what I think is going to be great about it is there's no wear parts. There's no clutch pack inside. It's got a very, very smooth engagement. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we'll actually get something in place and do a big announcement for that over the course of, it's probably about 3 or 4 months. But I've been working for years on trying to get someone to do that for me when OSI can stop manufacturing. So thanks everyone for listening to me. And if you got any questions, I will hang if I can answer them.
Okay, thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate that. Okay.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Okay, finally, we have Chris Willson, who is the General Manager of ScienceofSpeed based in Chandler, Arizona. ScienceofSpeed is a worldwide leader in first and second generation NSX performance and preservation parts. Chris previously served as the NSX Club of America's treasurer and was also the event director for NSXPO 2015, which was held in Palm Springs. And there's the group photo behind me from that awesome event. We're excited that Chris is introducing the TVS supercharger system here in this virtual NSXPO tech session. So Chris, take it away.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? So first, wanted to thank everybody that's joining us. Thanks to May, Warren, and Dan for putting this together. Really appreciate it. Had some problems with audio earlier. I just wanted to make sure that it's coming through okay now. All right. So as of today, we launched our new supercharger kit. It's based on the TVS 1900, and we're using this event to bring some information about the kit to be available. So what I figured is I have a video clip to share on YouTube. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's fairly short, about 3 minutes or so. So if we could watch that and then come back to the presentation here, I'll go into a little bit more detail. So I'm going to put that in chat now.
Quick comment, if you don't have a chat button, try logging in and logging back out.
I don't have a chat button because I'm on Windows 7. Could that be the issue?
Could be.
Alternatively, if you are on Facebook, we shared the link just now, so you'll be able to find that on the Science of Speed Facebook page.
Perfect. Be right back.
And we also have a link to both of Chris's videos from the NSXCA website as well. Warren, are you able to play the video?
I can probably share it. I don't want to take Chris's thunder here, though.
That's fine, Warren. Go ahead and share it if you'd like.
Yeah, if you can play it, let's go ahead and share it. That way everyone
That's a good idea.
Watch it together. Thanks, Warren. bear with us as we get this up and running. And just a reminder, both Rick and Chris have generously donated something that will be given away to the best question. So be thinking up things that you'd like to ask one of the two of them, and we can get to that in the Q&A session later. And also, obviously, questions that have already been previously asked. So I'm leaving it up to Rick and to Chris to pick who those folks are.
My mind is churning.
Well, I can share the video if you'd like.
Yeah, Chris,
sure, go
ahead
for
and
it.
share.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Hugh, are you using the browser or the app to?
I'm using the app.
I'm using the app also, not the browser. Should I go to the browser or I got the chat window there? Quiet.
Yeah, the browser just about always has a chat window.
Let me get out of the app then, and I'll see you guys on the browser in a second. Thank you.
Actually,
Can
wait,
you
I'm
see
on
my
Windows
screen?
7 and I'm using the app, and I have the chat.
You do. Let me log out and log in again. You guys do your thing with the supercharger video. I've also got it up on YouTube. I've downloaded it to my hard drive, so I'm all good there. See you guys in a few minutes. Thanks.
All right, Warren, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
It
there
is
we go.
showing.
We need sound, please.
Hey all, Chris from ScienceofSpeed. So when ScienceofSpeed had the opportunity to design a supercharger system for the first generation NSX, we brought nearly 20 years of experience not only with the NSX, but also supercharger systems that have been available for the car. So today, I'm going to introduce you to that system. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the design, see it actually in action here at ScienceofSpeed in our dyno booth. And lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about how the kit is going to be offered. This is the first supercharger system for the NSX to be designed completely in CAD with computational fluid.
The sound cut out again. Oh, Chris got muted.
We knew this was an exceptional opportunity to take everything we saw as needing improvement in prior products and produce the best engineered system using this modern technology. So that modern technology has allowed us to really step through the development phase of the product. We're doing all of our initial performance testing on this 1995 Midnight Pearl NSX. This NSX has those production-ready designs of the inlet and intake manifold that we designed and tested through CFD analysis. But instead of having to wait for the casted aluminum components, we've actually 3D printed the inlet and intake manifolds using a fiber-reinforced nylon material. That allows us to start on the performance and tuning while the aluminum production components are completed. This NSX has a number of sensors we've added to monitor temperature and pressures in the system of this test car. So you're going to see a lot more wires and uncovered fuel injectors than the production system will have. However, very prominently, you can see a key component to the ScienceofSpeed supercharger system, the twin vortice series or TVS 1900 supercharger. Although this supercharger is much larger than superchargers used in other systems, with a clever manifold design, we're able to maintain the same height as smaller 1.6 liter and 1.7 liter supercharger systems used by other manufacturers. In fact, we've actually been able to decrease the height while having increased efficiency and mass airflow compared to our older 2.1 liter supercharger kit. Not only have we been able to use this larger supercharger and maintain the height of other systems, but we've also been able to take advantage of a key feature of the TVS 1900, an internal bypass valve. See, when adding an intercooler, other systems have to add the intercooler on top of the manifold. This creates a limitation as far as how thick the core can be, only about an inch, due to the height restriction of the rear glass. With the TVS design, we've been able to integrate the optional intercooler with more than a 2-inch thickness core with a 0 impact on height. One of the best things about the TVS supercharger being an OEM design is that it's exceptionally quiet, so your NSX still sounds like an NSX. The system has built-in expandability, including the ability to add the intercooler like we discussed, but also an inlet manifold design that allows both a factory throttle body to be used, as well as larger 75mm throttle bodies, which significantly improve performance. So with dyno testing complete, we now have some preliminary performance numbers to share. At 6 psi, the system produced about 360 wheel horsepower, and at 9 psi, over 390 horsepower. Now, this performance was generated without an intercooler. We'll have those results to share soon. However, what we were really impressed with is inlet temperatures. With the TVS system, the inlet temperatures, even without an intercooler, were 20 to 30 degrees cooler than we normally see from other systems. Initially, we'll be introducing the supercharger system in 2 trims, Tuner and Stage 2. The Tuner system allows customers to use their existing fuel and engine management systems. This system is capable of over 100 to 175 horsepower gains with intercooling. The Stage 2 system includes a fuel system and engine management system with ScienceofSpeed, and is also capable of 100 to 175 horsepower gains with intercooling. In development now is our Stage 1 system. This will fit in between the Tuner and Stage 2 system in price, and allows 80 to 100 horsepower gains with no tuning required. We'll be offering this supercharger system for sale shortly, and for more information, please visit our website at ScienceofSpeed.com.
Love the color of that car, Chris.
Yeah, I thought you would. So I'm going to share my screen to show a quick presentation here. So this is the ScienceofSpeed TVS Supercharger. It's a product we've been working on for about a year. I wanted to share a little more details today about the kit. So first, a little bit about ScienceofSpeed. Again, my name is Chris Willson. I'm the general manager at ScienceofSpeed. We were established in October 2001, so this time of the year is always a lot of fun for us because it's anniversary, and usually NSXPO is happening, and this year we're doing Virtual NSXPO, and I think that's pretty cool. We specialize in the first and second generation NSX as well as the S2000. We're based in Chandler, Arizona, and usually it's me in the videos and at NSXPOs, but really ScienceofSpeed happens because I have a great team that works with me, and we have 9 people here. You can see the various employees that have been here, as well as their hire dates. I'm very proud that I've been able to assemble not only a really well-experienced team, but also a team that's had great tenure at the company. So some key facts about the system. As many of you are aware, there has been various supercharger kits for the NSX for quite a while, about 20 years now or so. We produce our own supercharger kit using the Kenny Bell 2.1 liter supercharger, which was a screw supercharger based on the Comtech design. Comtech was supplying us the intake manifold, inlet manifold, and the belt drive system, and we basically took the Comtech system and produced a higher output design based on that supercharger. Now, there were some limitations to that design, things that we, always kind of wish we could do better, but the fact of the matter is the investment to produce, these casted aluminum components is, quite great. So, we always worked well with Comtech, and unfortunately, when they went out of business, we were kind of unsure as far as, what the future was going to be for the kit. So we decided that at that time, let's take all of the knowledge that we've built over the past 18, 19 years, both with the NSX and supercharger kits that are out on the market, and bring in all of those improvements to our own design. So some key facts: it's based on the TVS 1900. TVS stands for Twin Vortices Series. It is more similar to a roots than a screw type. So for example, the Comtech system that many people are familiar with over the years used either a 1.6 liter Lyshome or Whipple, or a 1.7 liter autorotor unit. Our unit, the 2.1 liter that we discontinued about 2 or 3 years ago, was also a screw design. The TVS is closer to a roots design, but has many improvements that allows it to operate more efficiently. So the nice thing that I love about the supercharger kits, especially this TVS kit, is it gives you V8 performance. So unlike a turbo system, for example, where even a really efficient system, a twin turbo system, you do have a bit of a transitionary boost lag. So it always feels like a turbocharged car, even ones that are really well developed. The thing that I love about supercharger kits is it feels like you took a small block V8 and dropped it into your NSX. So you get that really broad torque curve that I'll show on the dyno plot here, that kind of gives the NSX the power that it really deserves. 100 to 175 horsepower gain is what we designed the kit to be optimized for. We're in the process now of testing those upper limits. The kit is compatible on all NSX years. It is currently compatible for manual transmission only. We purchased a 97 automatic last year that we're going to be using for testing on the automatics to see what we can do with them. One of the key components is an expandable design. I'll show the next slide that talks a little bit about the intercooler. It's also been designed to work with a larger than factory throttle body, which for superchargers, reducing that restriction makes them work a lot more efficiently and produce more power. We've also addressed some of the issues that we've had with the prior belt tensioner system. So it's much easier to tension the belt now with a more robust setup. And the system also addresses one of the concerns that we've had with the CT and Comtech designs. We don't rely on the factory fuel pump. We don't rely on the factory ECU. There is modern fuel and engine management systems to support that additional power. So one of the key components with the TVS is that the bypass valve, the thing that basically allows the pressure to be bypassed when you're part throttle or off the throttle, is internal valve with the TVS design. So this diagram is basically the Comtech, CT Engineering, as well as the older ScienceofSpeed 2.1 liter design. You can see that the way that the and it's not shown in this diagram, but there's basically a big bypass hose that goes under the intake manifold. And because the NSX is a V engine, that tube basically takes up all that space under the manifold. So what happens is the manifold ends up being very short and kind of pancaked together. And the downside to that, because you need to add the intercooler on top of the manifold, there's only so far you can go until you crash into the glass. So the bar and plate intercoolers that have been available have a core thickness of only about 1 inch. And while it does make an improvement, it's not a substantial improvement. And, you know, they're fairly costly. So for that amount of money, you really want something that makes a, you know, big improvement. So the difference is with the manifold that we designed through CFD analysis, we were able to optimize the design of the manifold for best flow, but also we were able to integrate the intercooler into the manifold. So the intercooler is an option, it's not required. It will allow additional performance to be gained. And the best thing about the intercooler is that because it's in the intake manifold, there's no additional rise in height. So whether you have an intercooler or a standard kit, the height of the supercharger is the same. And as you can see, the TVS 1900 is quite a bit larger, both in height and width. But because we were able to make the assembly much more compact, the height of the TVS system is actually the same height as the Comtech or later CT engineering systems. So I wanted to just kind of touch on the development. This was a big project for ScienceofSpeed. It basically required us to take everything that we had learned in the past 19 years and bring in additional help to pull that off, because a lot of the manufacturing of the kit was something new for us. So for example, last year we hired a product design engineer. You can actually see him in that photo there. His name's Mick. He's 3D scanning the NSX engine in this picture, which we use to check fitment virtually in CAD before we actually built any components. So this is the first supercharger kit that was completely built in CAD and had CFD analysis performed. So before anything started getting machined or cast or fabricated, we proved out the ideas we had in the manifold design and intercooler, as well as the improvements that we made to the belt tensioner system. The CFD analysis, which you can see on the far right, there's some clips there. There's a lot more information on our website if you'd like to kind of get into the depth of the technical aspects. But essentially, we produced 3 CAD models and ran them through sophisticated flow analysis software to prove out theoretically which manifold design was the best. So we actually arrived at what in the diagram is called manifold 2. It's basically the mid-height manifold as the best performing manifold, beating what we were using previously from Comtech and CT engineering, as well as allowing the intercooler to be integrated. So we were able to basically see increased air mass flow and velocity into the NSX 6 cylinders, and to basically prove out, before we even started building parts, that what we thought would be a better design ended up actually being a better design. So we've done some initial performance development. As I mentioned in the video, we are running both the performance testing and the manufacturing ramp up concurrently. So, you know, there's a big investment in, you know, the manifolds to have them cast by a foundry and then machined. So we wanted to make sure that the designs that proved out in theory to be the best actually were performing well. So what we did is we 3D printed the production inlet and intake manifolds with a fiber reinforced nylon material. It's basically a high temperature, high performance plastic material that allowed us to do all of the performance testing. And once that was proved out, we made the final steps to move forward with the casting of the components. So the production components will be cast aluminum instead of plastic, of course. And we just completed that testing a couple weeks ago, had some very positive results. So this car on our dyno with the ScienceofSpeed headers and exhaust produced 255 wheel horsepower. With the 6 PSI pulley, it produced 360 horsepower, so over 100, and at 9 PSI, over 390. These performance numbers are greater than we've ever seen at 6 or 9 PSI, not only with our kit, the big 2.1 liter unit, but the Comtech 1.6 and 1.7 liter units as well. So we had some information that the TVS design would be more efficient than those screw chargers. And the the problem with the screw chargers is they do generate quite a bit of heat, because as they're bringing air mass into the engine, it's compressing in the screws. So they generate quite a bit of heat. On average, we see something like 200 to 225 degrees non-intercooled going into the engine. It's really hot for forced induction. And those inlet temperatures, even without an intercooler, were about 20 to 30 degrees cooler. And that's part of the reason why the engine's making more power than we're used to seeing. So, this product for us was always driven by enthusiasts. So we had a lot of, our thoughts as far as how to make the kit better, but we spoke to a lot of customers in the early initial development phase to, find out what, they found to be most important. And, unsurprisingly, one of the most important points was price. So we worked really, really hard to achieve prices that are less expensive in many ways than what we were selling our prior kit for. And even at the stage 2 kit, it's roughly about the same price as the kit that we discontinued about 3 years ago. So we're going to be selling the kits in 3 stages. The first is tuner. So there's a lot of customers now that already have an engine management system, fuel injectors, fuel pump, etc. So for those customers, we're offering the kit without those fuel and engine management systems. Starting price is $9,400. We are offering what we are calling our Founders Edition. It's a celebration of 30 years of the NSX, and because of those 30 years, we're offering 30 kits initially that will receive a $500 to $1,000 discount off of these prices, and they will also receive a special badge and a special memorabilia item that will go along with the supercharger kit. So tuner kit, for example, for 91 NSX would be $8,900 in this first batch. Stage 2 is the other stage that we're going to be initially offering. Stage 2 basically takes the tuner kit and includes standalone engine management system as well as a fuel supply system along with the kit. In the future, something that we're working on now is what we call our Stage 1 kit. It's going to fall in between the tuner and the Stage 2 kit in price. And essentially, it's designed for 80 to 100 horsepower. But the benefit to that kit is there's no tuning required. It's essentially plug and play. So as far as orders go, we're going to start taking orders this Friday, October 16th. As far as shipping goes, we plan to start shipping kits in mid-November. We do have quite long list of customers that are already interested. So we're not taking any orders until Friday, and we are going to be limited on the Founders Edition for 30 units. This product is obviously pretty complex as far as not only selling and supporting it, but also putting all the pieces together to get the kits to customers with instructions and all that good stuff. So we're shooting for 5 kits per week, starting about mid-November. So to run through all 30, it's going to take us about 6 weeks or so to get through those. So I just wanted to say big thanks to the NSX Club of America. This is the 20th, I believe, 20th NSXPO that I've participated in. My first one was at Laguna Seca, and ever since then I was hooked. This is in '99. I find it as a real privilege to be able to come to work today and do something I love, but also to be a part of a bigger community. So I want to say thank you to the club, all the organizers that have put this together, and most importantly, the enthusiasts. So at this point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and see if anybody has any questions, either on the TVS Supercharger kit or really anything in general.
So let's start off with
quick
questions
for you, Chris. A quick question for you, Chris. Robert Richardson here. I may have missed this detail, but for Targa owners, will they need a different Targa bar?
That's a good question. Yes, the factory Targa brace, which is fairly compact to the engine, will require a brace, and it is an optional part that we will be offering on the website on Friday.
Okay, and you already answered my related question. Having recently gone through the decision to force induction, this is everything I had to consider last year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I like that you're in your car too.
Oh yes.
So we do have a bunch of questions from chat, so I can go through that, or
Yes, please.
okay. First, some kind of quick ones. Do you need an automatic test car? We have a volunteer.
We actually purchased the 97 NSX ourselves to do testing on the automatic. We've finished headers for the automatic, and we're going to be starting on supercharger testing here in the next couple of weeks. But thank you.
Yep. Also, one that's probably a quick question because it looks like it's already answered on your website. Any chance of getting a CARB legal unit?
So CARB exemption is not only a very expensive proposition, but there's a lot of moving parts in the logistics to make it happen, especially with us being in Arizona. It is something that we're evaluating. At earliest that we would be making steps to move in that direction would be about mid of next year. It's something I personally would love to do. The kit is certainly capable of it. It's really is, how do we justify the 15 to 20,000 in cost, and how do we deal with the logistics of getting it to happen? That being said, the SEMA organization has made the process easier. So it is something we're interested in that we hope to look into next year.
Great. And any testing on the 3.2 liter, and would there be any concerns there?
No, the 3.2s are essentially very similar to the 3 liters. One of the reasons that we chose the 95 is that it's the best combination of 3 liter, which is basically our minimum performance, and also the drive-by-wire issues of the later model. So with the 95, we were basically able to, we had a performance target in mind, and if we hit that performance target with the 3 liter, we will definitely hit it with the 3.2. At the same boost level, the displacement of the engine is almost directly proportionate to how much more horsepower it will make. So if you look at the factory NA engine, 270 to 290, it's proportionate to the 3 to 3.2 liter. Same thing with supercharged applications. The proportionate horsepower gain is the same. We will be installing on a 97 NSX and a 2005 NSX later this month. There's really no technical things to get through, but it will give us some time to show more kits on cars.
Sure. Someone wants to ask you to comment on what additional modifications are required and recommended when installing your supercharger.
So nothing else is required. The kit sold as the stage 2 kit, and eventually the kit will be selling as the stage 1 kit, are complete. Everything that you need to install it is included. As far as recommendation, 2 things I would consider. First off is headers. The headers do make a big improvement on the 91 to 94, whether it's naturally aspirated or supercharged. On the later models, they make an impact, both naturally aspirated and forced induction, specifically supercharger, but it's not as significant as the early cars. So we make headers that work great. 20 to 30 horsepower is the gain that you'll see with a supercharger, if not more in the 9 PSI configuration.
So are there any other components in the drivetrain that will need to be replaced, upgraded in order to accommodate that additional horsepower from the supercharger kit?
So the stage 1 kit is compatible with the factory clutch, especially the 97 and later factory clutch. That being said, they will wear out faster, being that they were designed for 270 horsepower. There are great clutches available both from us and other vendors. Even our standard clutch kit, what we call the Sport 275, is compatible with the supercharger.
So the other question, and I think there's an answer, could you please clarify which of these kits would work for the stock ECU and fuel system? And I assume that's the stage 1?
That's correct. The stage 1 is going to be designed for not necessarily for the factory ECU, but we expect it to be, so the primary, I should say the primary driver for the stage 1 kit is, one, to offer a plug and play kit that allows customers that may not have access to a tuner and a dyno to be able to have a plug and play kit. But really the primary driver for the 95 to 2005 NSX is to preserve the OBD2 system. And the goal is to retain the factory ECU. We're actually testing 3 different electrical systems that allow us to do that. So details will follow, but the stage 1 kit is essentially the kit that would aim to preserve the OBD2 system.
There's a question on installation kits. If you have ScienceofSpeed do the install, or cost, sorry.
I would anticipate the install, if ScienceofSpeed was to do it, to be about $1,500. So it's roughly 10 to 12 hours of time to install the kit. Obviously, with a stage 2 kit, there's tuning on top of that, but 10 to 12 is pretty on par. We've already installed these kits on 2 cars, so we've done a time analysis on putting it together, and you know, that's kind of the all-in time.
So would you feel that the stage 1 is a DIY installation product, or?
Yes, we've geared it to be able to be installed by a customer that has, you know, moderate technical experience. The good thing is, so one of the things we're kind of known for is, even with our twin turbo kit and, you know, our prior supercharger kit and definitely the TVS kit, is we wanted to produce a part that, you know, gains 100 or more horsepower, but is 100% reversible. Because, you know, you never know what your kind of long-term plans are with the car. And, you know, we believe that the NSX deserves to be able to be reverted back to 100% factory condition. So the supercharger kit, the TVS supercharger kit, does not require any permanent modification to the car.
How about a 91 to 94 with a throttle cable?
The system is compatible with the factory throttle body. So 91, 94 is a cable throttle. The model NSX 95 and later, the stage 2 kit does our electronic package for now. The goal is for the stage 1 system to preserve the factory.
Any comments on your supercharger on the 3.5 liter option?
100% compatible, no issues.
Okay. And do you have a pricing on just the intercooler?
Our target price is $1,400 for the intercooler. That's for the assembly that goes into the supercharger manifold. And the install kit, which includes the front-mounted heat exchanger, water pump, and reservoir, is available now on our website. I believe it's around $700.
Okay. Those are all the questions on the supercharger. Then there's a couple non-supercharger questions.
Sure.
Could you please talk a little about your ABS upgrade kit for the older NSX that's lighter, smaller, and better performance?
Sure. So, you know, as probably many of you have heard, the early NSXs prior to 2000 have a accumulator and modulator assembly that can go bad. Either the accumulator goes bad or the solenoids in the modulator go bad. They are, last time I checked, still available, but I believe they're around 2000. So what we did is we took the ABS kit from the later model NSX, which uses a modern all-in-one modulator that does away with the accumulator pump, and use a wire harness from RF Yamamoto which we take and pop so it's more durable for the installation, and that creates a plug-and-play solution. There are some people installing the SP1000 modulator, which is available inexpensively from wrecking yards. I don't have direct experience with that, but I do know that the software programming in the SP1000 modulator is designed for a front-engine car. So the threshold braking, ABS functions may be a little affected by using that modulator compared to the modulator we use, which is from the NSX.
So one last question for you, and then we're going to actually move to a question for EuroBoutique. The question is, do you make clutch kits that provide a lighter spring force for those of us with bad knees that have to drive around in heavy traffic?
We do. So our Sport 275, which is intended to be a direct replacement for the factory clutch, uses actually the FCC disc from Honda's OEM manufacturer. It's the same one used in the later model NSX. So the effort is just like factory. The benefit is it's, for one, quite a bit less expensive. I think around $600 less expensive. It's plug and play on all years. And also the engagement is a little bit more easy to modulate compared to especially the early twin disc clutch. And it has the additional benefit of being a little lighter in rotating assembly. So it's a little sportier to drive, especially compared to the later models, which are very heavy.
Okay. EuroBoutique question?
Yeah, so quick question for EuroBoutique. Do you offer center consoles and other finishes besides carbon fiber?
Rick?
We lose Rick?
I know he also offers fiberglass, right?
Oh, actually, I see Rick. Let me see if I can unmute him real quick. I don't know if I can.
Once you do that, I have an audio question for Chris, if Chris can hear me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, Charlotte, as you know, since you worked on her, she's become sentient and has a mind of her own, and she heard the presentation on the supercharger. So our question to you is, when can we send Charlotte out to Chandler so you can develop the world's first twin-charged NSX?
I thought somebody was going to ask about that eventually.
You knew it'd be me.
There's no reason that I see it being impossible to do. It's actually, I think it's more or less straightforward. Really, I think the question would be why? Because I don't really see that the two compressors would gain efficiency. They would likely lose efficiency because you have a little bit of loss from, inertia and whatnot, friction from the various compressors. So definitely doable. Send it on over. Let's do it.
It's more of a why not? I mean, why do I need 600 wheel horsepower? Why not do it? So I guess we'll give you a few months to get the system out in the wild and everything, and then we'll talk about a twin charge system.
Sounds good.
Great. Best of luck. The thing looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a piece of art. Take care. I'm muting my microphone, boys and girls. Carry on.
So I think we're still waiting on Rick to unmute. Oh, and it looks like May got muted.
Okay, here, I'm unmuted. Go ahead.
Dan,
go ahead with the question, please.
If we're still waiting for Rick, I see a couple more questions about the supercharger.
Go ahead.
There's a question as far as what ECU will be included. So we include the Infinity 506 with our adapter harness. That includes not only the Infinity, but also a wideband oxygen sensor and fuel pressure sensor. So 506 is the standard ECU. We can upgrade that to the 708 if anybody feels the need.
Yeah, apparently nobody can unmute Rick, so he just needs to unmute himself at some point.
So in the meantime, I know that Chris, you had offered a $100 gift certificate to ScienceofSpeed. Do you have a winner for who you thought asked you the best question?
So what I
today's
was thinking we could do is, being that this is being recorded, I'm going to have my team review it on Monday, and $100 gift certificate to the question.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. And then I know Rick had also offered a $100 gift certificate to EuroBoutique. So if we can't get Rick on the line here, we'll confer with him as well and have him pick the best question.
Chris,
So
I have
this
a
is
question
Warren.
for you
I
on
know
the
I've asked
supercharger.
Rick the same question about his center console, if it came in anything other than carbon fiber. And I know he offers it in a paint ready state. So it's primed, ready for paint. That helps.
That question directed at me so that I can get one painted purple.
Sure.
Okay, are there any questions for anyone else?
I had a question for Chris on the supercharger.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, looks like we lost Brian. We'll never know what his question was.
The winning question is, by the way, how many can I buy? That was the winning question.
Chris, I'm back again. Sorry, guys, I got cut off there.
Go ahead, Brian.
Chris, on the superchargers, I know we had this problem before, will they fit under a Targa holder with the new one since it's designed shorter?
No, so the height of the TVS, despite the supercharger actually being taller, it's the same height as the CT or Comtech superchargers, which also don't fit under the Targa cover. So it is something we're considering. The difficulty with the, so Comtech offered a cover that held the Targa in place, but it was a fairly complex assembly, and you kind of had to gut your factory, Targa holder to make it work. So at this point, we're suggesting to customers, on my own Targa car, I keep a blanket in the trunk. If you put the Targa in the trunk, rotate it 180 degrees, it fits nice and secure, and with a blanket, it'll never go anywhere. Yes, it does take up a majority of the trunk, but I think honestly it's the more elegant solution, because the way to make a Targa cover work is like how the factory did it, and to produce that style of manufacturing would make the part exceedingly expensive.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
So we got another question. Do you recommend the supercharge to be used with the AEM FIC, or is it compatible with it?
Good question.
It is compatible with the FIC. The problem, and that was actually our one of our preferred devices that we were going to use for the Stage 1 kit. The issue is the FIC was discontinued about 3 years ago. And as far as I know, all of the supply has dried out. If you have one available, it most definitely can be used, and we can help you with getting that set up and a base calibration.
Okay. We have another question here from Chris.
Hi, Chris. How about a crazy idea of using the spare tire well to put in some electric motors and a battery to mimic the NC1 setup?
Chris, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat maybe a little closer to the mic? Chris, I don't hear you. Maybe you could put your question into the chat.
May, you're muted as well.
Okay, I'm unmuting. Just come over here and ask the question. We've got two laptops set up here, so just have Chris ask the question direct.
Well, I see a question about, do I prefer supercharger or twin turbo? So I think that kind of comes down to what's the goal with the car. So if you're someone who is looking for 500 plus horsepower right off the bat, the answer's pretty simple. Turbocharger is the way to go. I really like the twin turbo kit that we offer because it allows the engine to be as smooth as possible with that kind of horsepower gain. That being said, I really love the supercharger kit, and unfortunately I didn't really hit on it with the presentation. I'll share my screen real quick so I can kind of better explain what I'm referring to. So if you look at the dyno graph on the screen, you can see the torque curve of the factory engine, which is in gray, is very similar in shape, more or less, to the supercharger kit. And what that means is with the additional 100 to, 140 horsepower of these two setups, you're essentially getting a much higher performance feeling engine that feels naturally aspirated. And you just can't do that with a twin turbo system. You either have an OEM, there's a lot of like single turbo inline fours in modern cars now, and you get that nice burst of acceleration off of the line, but then it kind of gets pretty breathless about halfway through the rev band. So the nice thing about the supercharger compared to the twin turbo kit or single turbo kits is it feels like a small block V8, especially with the TPS. It's so quiet. You don't get a lot of supercharger whine. So to me, it feels like I drove one the other day, and it feels like somebody threw in a 4-something liter small block V8 that actually revs to 8 grand in the NSX. So for most customers, and I would say for me, for a daily driver, I would definitely go the supercharger route because they're so seamless and they're easier to install, maybe even a little easier to maintain as well. So again, it kind of depends on what your mission is for the car.
Hey, Chris, I have a crazy question. How about using the spare tire well and stuffing some electric motors and a battery in there to mimic the NC1 setup for more power? And then you wouldn't have to worry about carb certification.
I love your ambitiousness. Let's do it. Send us your NSX. Let's do it. Actually, Hugh asked that question like probably 2 years ago. He was talking about sending his NSX to get that done. And I actually think there's enough room to pull it off, but there would be major retrofit of the car to do that. So is it possible? I would think so, but not only the expense would make it cost prohibitive, but the permanent modification to the car to pull it off would be pretty heartbreaking, in my opinion.
My query was for the front wheels, because actually even before I sent Charlotte to you for the turbocharge, Dwight Brady at Honda Foreign Tech said, well, all you need to do is put electric motors on the front. This was even before the NC1 was conceived. So that's where the idea was drawn from. And then when I looked at the NC1 front electric motors, I go, yeah, they might fit. But anyway, I like the twin charging option better. I'm muting my mic. Onwards, boys and girls.
So how are we on time with questions, May? We got a few more.
As long as the three presenters can stay on to address questions, we can go as long, I think we're fine.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How much weight does it add to the supercharger?
That's a good question. We haven't weighed the parts yet because the aluminum castings were the first articles were actually completed last week. So we haven't machined parts yet. That being said, we do have weights in CAD, and I'm going off of memory here, so don't quote me, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of 40 pounds.
And I'm not familiar with I guess the follow-up, how much is the stock manifold, I guess, for a 3.2? Do you know?
So the 40 pounds would be the net difference between factory and the supercharger. It may be less. I don't know. We'll know for sure here in the next week, and I think that's a good thing. Actually, that might be the question of the day. That might be a good thing to add to our website prior to Friday, because I know the NSX is a lightweight car, and making that a priority is important. So let's plan on having those details on our website this Friday.
Great, thanks.
Thanks for the great question.
From chat, you said inlet temps are 20 to 30 degrees cooler without the intercooler. What are the actual temp values you're seeing?
So the max temperature we saw was 165 degrees at 9 psi. It was about 155, going off of memory, 155 at 6 psi and 165 at 9 psi. In general, with the twin screws, we were seeing in excess of 200 degrees. We have the data logs from all of the testing, so we plan on putting that on our website as well.
So C30s are getting old and parts are rare, as you noted. What components are going to be more stressed with the 6 psi boost?
Well, our experience is the NSX is actually pretty overbuilt. There's a lot of components of the engine that are definitely way overbuilt. So, for example, we produce in excess of 600 horsepower on the factory rods. I would say the most likely to be stressed, not in normal conditions, but in the case of bad fuel, a component going bad, something like that, would be the pistons. They're a cast design where we use forged pistons in our built engines that we produce. So that would be the most likely component, but under normal operating conditions, there should be no effect on the pistons. It would be only if somebody put the wrong gas, like 87 octane in the car, there was a fuel supply issue, or the fuel itself was bad.
So talking about the front compartment, and this might be a question for Rick, has anyone considered building a weather-tight frunk compartment for people running without their spare tire bracket and also without the Type R ducting? Otherwise, that's kind of just wasted space.
I think Rick may have ghosted us.
Yeah.
I know a long time ago, there was a fabricated aluminum box that somebody made. Once you actually take some measurements, there's not that much room in the front there, and I would be primarily concerned about radiator performance, because with the pressure drop you're going to get, or pressure increase from having something immediately behind the radiator, you're definitely going to have some flow issues. So I would suspect that overheating would be very likely to happen if that was encapsulated.
I know Richard from Tennessee has put a toolbox in there without any issues. I don't know if he's on the call.
I think I've seen a case of Keystone Light in there.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Good place to heat your beer.
Yeah.
And shake it up.
Yep.
So I do see Rick on here, but I'm not able to unmute him. So Rick, if you're listening, can you unmute yourself and then you can take some of the questions that have been posed to EuroBoutique? Okay, well.
I have a final question for Chris if Rick doesn't join us.
Hey, Steve.
Go ahead.
Hi. I can't tell you how excited I am after selling my last NSX about 12 years ago. I just took delivery of my next one 2 days ago.
Oh, congrats. What year?
There's one of the first things on my list, and I want to ensure proper tolerances. And I'm hoping this question is considered for question of the day. Do your shirts fit true to form?
I would say yes. I'm wearing one of our shirts now, and it's a medium, and yeah, I fit mediums. That was a lot less technical than I thought it was going to be.
Damn.
Steve, what
Thank
year
you
did
very
you
much.
buy?
Pardon?
What year did you buy?
I found an unmolested 1991 in Sebring silver.
Oh, rare one. Nice. I saw a question from Jason. I know Jason has been emailing us, so let me go back to that question. Jason, maybe if you're on video and you have a mic, maybe you could ask in person while I try to scroll through this and find you.
So I do have an update on Rick. He had to take care of a client who showed up at the shop, so he's not going to be able to take any other questions. But if you do have any, feel free to email him directly or let us know and we can get you in touch with him either way.
Well, we were worried we weren't going to have enough material to fill the hour and a half, but we didn't have any trouble.
Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the session. So going once for any other questions?
Can I ask a question, Chris?
Yes.
Chris,
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
It's not car related at all, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but my agenda says this weekend there was something special you were gonna do.
Oh.
So how about that?
That is true. So I was actually supposed to be married to my partner today.
Oh.
And I was born and raised in Hawaii. So we were planning a trip and something happened and early this year that kind of screwed those plans up.
What?
But, like I've said, we're planning on a lifetime together. So what's another year? And hey, who wants to get married in 2020 anyway?
Oh, Chris gotta have something good in 2020.
I do think that's the question of the day, Chris.
Yes.
Hey, congratulations.
That's a good one, Renee.
That's awesome, Chris. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's all good.
Well deserved.
Okay.
Chris, this is Mark. I think Portland in 21 would sound good.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, thank you so much to all the enthusiastic participants for all the questions. Thank you so much to our three vendors, to EuroBoutique, Cedar Ridge Fabrication, and ScienceofSpeed. And as a reminder, this session is being recorded and we'll post it to the NSXCA website later tonight. And then, as you guys know, we're also spotlighting two of our sponsors each day, or several of our sponsors each day. And today's sponsors are NSX eRepair, as well as ScienceofSpeed, and their videos are posted to the NSXCA website. Tune in tomorrow on Sunday, October the 11th from 3 until 4 p.m. Pacific for an NSXPO 2021 Portland update, and then followed by our live auction. If you are not able to attend tomorrow's session and you want to bid on something in the auction, you can send your bids by 6 p.m. Pacific today to nsexpo@nsxca.org. And there are more details on the auction rules, as well as a list of all the auction items posted to the NSXCA website. And both Chris, Dave, as well as Rick were generous enough to provide us with items for the live auction. So again, thank you so much to all of you three for really supporting our organization. Thanks, everyone. And
Also
for now,
May
go
I
ahead,
also
Chris.
wanted to share that we produced a video about a first-gen NSXR that was at our shop recently. We produced this exclusively for the NSXCA. So I'm going to share that in the chat. It is available now if you're interested in watching it. Thank you.
And then I believe it's also posted to our website as well. I think I linked to it, so access it there. Okay, thanks, everyone. See y'all tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Going
Thank
for a
you.
drive. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, Maylee. Have a great day. See you soon. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, so hopefully next year I'll make
Yep.
the drive out to Portland after Chris has installed the supercharger to go along with my twin turbo, and then we can do some crazy things. I'll let you drive it. Have a great evening, great afternoon, and I'll see you guys here tomorrow for the auction. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.